Today's lesson is job interview arrangements. Hello, everyone. I'm Mike.
Hi, everybody. I am Roger, and today we're talking about job interviews and arranging those job interviews. If you've answered an advertisement for a job opening or something like that, you'll need to arrange a job interview so they can talk to you and find out if you are the suitable person, the most suitable person for that particular position.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to have 4 dialogues for you over the next couple of days. The first 2 that we'll be looking at today are kind of about in the interview, some of the questions you might want to ask and know, some of the questions you might expect to also have to answer from your potential new boss or new employer. And then in day 2, we have a couple other dialogues, and they're a bit more around arranging job interviews and also making sure that you're prepared for them because, of course, certain job interviews don't just need you to show up on the right time, looking your best, ready to ask questions and find out about the work. No, you might have to bring the right paperwork with you. You might need documents and credentials showing that you're trained or have the necessary experience to do a job. So we're going to also look at that. So hopefully after today and tomorrow, you will be well prepared for a job interview scenario or situation with all of the different wonderful things we'll be learning about with Anna. Anna is the first person that we'll be checking out. She is going to be asking about some job duties in her interview at a cafe. So let's find out all about that by listening to the dialogue. Job interview arrangements. 1. Asking about job duties. Anna calls a cafe to ask about a part-time job she saw a posting for.
Hello, my name is Anna Morton. I saw your cafe's posting for a part-time position and wanted to ask about the duties.
Hi, Anna. Thanks for calling. The role mainly involves taking customer orders behind the counter, preparing drinks, and serving food.
I see. Would I also be helping with cleaning tasks?
Yes, you would also be expected to wipe tables, wash some dishes, and keep the dining area tidy.
All right. Does the job require prior barista experience?
Not necessarily. We provide training, though some customer service experience is certainly helpful.
大家好，第一部分看到 part-time 这个单字是形容词，它的意思是兼职的、部分时间的。例如 Bob is a part-time cook at his uncle's restaurant. Bob 是他叔叔餐厅的一位兼职厨师。或是 In some countries, employers are not required to provide health insurance to part-time workers. 在某些国家，雇主不需要提供健保给兼职员工。继续看到形容词 prior， 它的意思是先前的、较早的。例如 We were given no prior notice that the meeting time would be changed. 我们没有被预先通知会议时间会更改。或者 My prior knowledge about the subject helped me a lot in the class. 我先前对这个主题的了解，对我的课堂学习有很大的帮助。
Okay, so conversation number 1 is entitled Asking About Job Duties. Of course, when you get a job, you have duties, you have responsibilities. And of course, during the interview, you want to find out exactly what you need to do on the job. So Anna calls a cafe to ask about a part-time job she saw a posting for. So lots of young people, of course, work part-time jobs because most of them are going to school or they have some other projects going on. So they don't want to work full-time. They want to work part-time, maybe 15 or 20 hours a week. And she saw a posting for this job at a cafe. A posting is a kind of advertisement for the job. Nowadays, most postings are online somewhere, but they used to be in newspapers or maybe even on bulletin boards. But I suspect she probably saw this posting online somewhere. And yes, indeed, she calls that cafe to talk to them person to person about that part-time job.
There you go. That's kind of old school using the phone. You might call them. You might also write them an email or even set up your interview via Zoom so you can actually see the person via web webcam over the internet, but she's doing it a little bit old-fashioned, maybe also just getting the basic information about the job before she actually goes through the process of arranging an interview. But she starts off very professionally. She says, hello, and then she introduces herself. My name is Anna Morton, she says, and she adds, I saw your cafe's posting for a part-time position and wanted to ask about the duties. Very good, very professional, and straight to the point. So she saw the cafe's posting. You could say wanted ad or job ad or something like that. So this is the posting. This is the message that she saw. It's for a part-time position, so she'll be working, 10 to 20 hours a week, maybe 3 or 4 hours a day on certain days. Potentially she's a student or something like that, so that would work with her schedule. So a part-time position, and she wanted to ask about the duties. Basically, what is my role? What are my responsibilities? What will I have to do if I get this job or if I take this job? And the cafe manager responds very positively. Hi, Anna. Thanks for calling. Apparently, they're still looking for people, so the manager is happy to receive an applicant. He says the role mainly involves taking customer orders behind the counter, preparing drinks, and serving food. So a basic service job, a food industry job. You're going to be taking customer orders, so working at the cash, writing down what they want, or inputting that into a computer of some kind. This is behind the counter, the person that you talk to in the coffee shop who takes your money and receives your order. That's where they will be, or there maybe she'll be preparing the drinks, making the coffee and other drinks, or serving food, heating things up, and possibly having sort of a server job, bringing it over to the table when it's ready.
Yeah, it sounds like a job description for maybe Louisa Coffee or Kama Cafe or whatever. They serve coffee and they serve some light meals or whatever. So those are the duties. You're going to take orders from the customers. You'll be behind the counter at the cash register. And you'll prepare those drinks and you'll serve the food and the drinks to the customers. And Anna says, I see, I understand. She has another question here. Would I also be helping with cleaning tasks? Okay, so yes, of course, you could expect that if you work at a particular restaurant or a cafe. Of course, they're probably going to expect you to go out and clean the tables or clear the tables, get the dishes back into the kitchen, back into the dish room, and then wipe off the tables. So yeah, do I have to clean things as well? I guess she understands that maybe she doesn't want to really do that, but of course she has to accept that as part of the job.
Yes, and the cafe manager responds by saying, yes, you would also be expected to wipe tables, wash some dishes, and keep the dining area tidy. So yes, there are cleaning tasks or cleaning duties, but I would call them rather light cleaning duties, nothing too much. You won't be mopping the parking lot or cleaning the windows every day or anything like that. She'll be wiping down the tables. Of course, some of the customers might spill a little coffee or milk. Keep it clean, get all those little crumbs off them. Wash some dishes, that would be in the kitchen area or, of course, the sink. And also keep the dining area tidy. This would probably involve sweeping or even mopping at the end of the day and picking up any stray trash that she might see. So yeah, pretty basic stuff that you could kind of expect to have in any food service job. Anna says, all right, so she understands and it seems acceptable to her. And then she asks a more pertinent question or a more important question. Does the job require prior barista experience? That's a really good question because working in a coffee shop is not the most demanding job in the world, but yes, you might need to know certain technical things to be a barista or a barista, as people might pronounce it. This is someone who makes the coffee. That is the traditional Italian terminology for the coffee maker, the coffee chef, I suppose you could say. But this is the person twisting those knobs within that big machine where all the steam comes out as they froth up your foamy cappuccino or something like that. We're not making instant coffee here. We're making proper coffee, and those machines do take a little bit of training. The other thing is those machines are really, really expensive. So you don't want someone who doesn't know what they're doing on it. They could break your very expensive Italian coffee machine. So you might need prior or earlier or before experience, previous experience, in other words. So hopefully you know how to do this. You've done it at another place, and now we can just bring you in and put you to work right away. We don't have to train you. So she's basically saying, do you provide training or do you have to kind of know the job before you'll give me the job?
Yeah, it's probably not that difficult to figure out. Years ago, I figured out how to make a latte because my roommate had an espresso machine, but I haven't bought one myself since then because they're so darn expensive, as you said. I tend to use the French press instead. It's a lot cheaper that way. But let's get back to the interview here. The cafe manager says, well, not necessarily. You don't necessarily need job experience. We can train you. He says we provide training, though some customer service experience is certainly helpful. So, of course, they want you to get along with the customers. That's part of the job. Of course, you take the orders from the people, but of course, you need to be courteous and polite to the customers and be very helpful and knowledgeable about your product and services if they have any questions. And, of course, if you have difficult customers, they want to know how you handle those customers, etc. So, yeah, they're going to give them some training, but, yeah, experience would be very helpful, but not necessary. Okay, let's move on now to the second part, and let's ask about additional job details. Anna is still talking to the cafe manager. Let's listen.
2. Asking about additional job details. Anna has a few more questions about the potential job.
Okay, I've got just a few more questions. Does the cafe offer any meal subsidies or free food to staff?
Yes, employees get 1 free drink per shift and a 50% discount on meals.
Good to know. And are part-time staff members covered by any insurance?
Yes, besides labor and health insurance, we also provide basic accident insurance.
How about the schedule? Is it flexible?
We try to accommodate school or personal needs to the extent possible. And if an employee gets sick or has an emergency, we just ask that they let us know promptly.
Thank you. I'm interested in applying for the job.
第二部分介绍名词 subsidy， 表示津贴、补助或是补助金。举个例子 ，Farmers received subsidies to support crop production during the drought。农民获得补贴以支持干旱期间的作物生产。或是 The university offered subsidies to students from poorer backgrounds。这间大学为来自贫困家庭的学生提供补助金。接着看到名词 labor， 它的意思是劳工、工人或是劳动。例如 A huge amount of labor went into the building of the Great Wall of China。 建造中国万里长城耗费了大量的劳工。也可以说 Completing the work on the building will take many hours of difficult labor。 完成这栋大楼的工程将花费许多小时的艰苦劳动。再来看到形容词 flexible， 表示可变通的或是灵活的、有弹性的。也可以说 Mark has a flexible work schedule that lets him manage his own time。 Mark 的工作时程表很有弹性，让他可以管理自己的时间。又或者说 You need to be flexible in your travel plans due to unpredictable weather。 由于不可预测的天气，你需要在旅行计划上有弹性。下一个看到动词 accommodate，它的意思是满足点点点的需求，也可以是顾及或是考虑的意思。例如 The company accommodated Cedric's desire to work remotely。 那间公司满足了 Cedric 远距工作的渴望。再看一个例子 We changed the time of the event to accommodate her schedule。 我们更改了活动时间，以配合她的时程安排。继续看到名词 extent， 表示程度或是范围。例如They did not know the extent of the problem until they began investigating。 直到开始调查后，他们才知道问题的严重程度。也可以说 The new education standards affect high school students and, to a lesser extent, elementary school students。 新的教育标准对高中生有影响，对国小生的影响比较小。最后介绍单字 promptly， 这个副词指的是迅速的或是立即的。例如 At the end of our test,Our teacher told us to promptly put our pencils down。 在考试结束时，我们老师叫我们立刻把铅笔放下。
All right, we are back with dialogue number 2, asking about additional job details. As we mentioned, Anna is still the person applying for the job at this cafe, and she's talking to the manager. She knows the basics of what the job requires. You know, what will I be expected to do? Serve coffee, clean a little bit, and she wanted to know if she needed training, and the answer was no, we can provide you with training so you don't have to have previous experience. But she has a few more questions. It says Anna has a few more questions about the potential job. So let's see what else she's interested in or concerned about. She says, okay, I've got just a few more questions. Does the cafe offer any meal subsidies or free food to staff? Okay, yeah, that's a reasonable question. When you're working in a restaurant or somewhere that makes food as their business, you might hope or even expect that you get some of that food. You don't have to bring your own lunch, so you can save a bit of money. So in other words, can I eat some of the food prepared in the restaurant? Is it free? Is it cheaper? Is it like 50% off? Or do I have to buy it like everyone else? In other words, maybe I should bring my own lunch when I'm going to work for the day. So she has a question about that. She's looking for any information about subsidies. When something is subsidized, that would be the verb form. Subsidy would be the noun form. Basically, someone else is helping to pay for something. If you're a poor person, the government might have programs that have subsidies for people with a low income, people who are poor, who don't make a lot of money. Maybe they can have their kids go to school for free. Maybe they get some extra money to buy books for school, things like that. The government will pay for things like, I think in Taiwan, the price of gas. There are subsidies for that, so we don't pay as much as we might normally because the government sort of picks up 20% of the bill. In other words, things are a little bit cheaper because someone else, the government, your parents, your boss, is paying for things like gas, the food that you eat at home as a parent does for a child, or maybe your boss pays for your travel or pays for a hotel or something when you're on the road doing company business. So is there any company help with the food, or do I have to sort of pick up all that stuff on my own and pay for it on my own?
Yeah, she asks about free food. I probably wouldn't phrase it that way myself. It sounds like, do I get anything free at this job?
Complimentary?
Yeah, probably something like that. Do employees get any special privileges for the food? Yeah, food allowance or something like that. So here the cafe manager says, yes, employees get one free drink per shift. A shift, of course, is a period of time when you're working. For example, if you come in at 9 in the morning and you work until 3 in the afternoon, that's a shift, a 6-hour shift. You get one drink per shift and a 50% discount on meals. So if you want to order a sandwich or something like that, you only have to pay half the price for that sandwich. Some places might offer a free meal. The restaurant I worked at when I was going to university gave us all a free meal. But of course, you can't abuse that. You can't have 2 or 3 meals during a shift. The boss probably wouldn't notice that, but still, you had to be honest and just have one meal. And also, sometimes I think we shared meals with other restaurants, like we'll cook you guys a pizza. If you guys let us have some of your Chinese takeout or whatever, that made a pretty good arrangement there because there were other restaurants around there. But in any case, that's another consideration here, and that's the answer to her question there. So it does sound like a pretty reasonable deal there. And Anna says, well, that's good to know. And are part-time staff members covered by any insurance? Okay, so yeah, if I have any problems on the job, if I get burned by the coffee machine or something, will you guys pick up the payment, the medical bills for that? Could I get any medical insurance for that?
This is especially important in America, where, of course, they don't have national health insurance and things like that. So if your job helps to pay for that or gives you coverage for accidents and for illness, that's great, because otherwise you have to pay for it yourself because the government programs aren't as extensive as they are here in Taiwan, of course. So what does the cafe manager say? He says, yes, besides labor and health insurance, we also provide basic accident insurance. So it seems like there are some good benefits of working there. They have labor and health insurance. This might be law depending on which state you live in or are working in America. Labor having to do with work. So in other words, work insurance. If you slip and fall on a floor, or if the company has an accident and it's their fault and you get injured, you'll have some kind of coverage. And also maybe if you lose your job, if the company fires you or the a store closes or something, you might get a certain amount of money for a few months to help you out until you find a new job. So there is some protection there. Health insurance, of course, yeah, this would be for sickness, for injury, for things like that. Maybe it's just for you. If you work at a bigger company or have a more important job, you might also have family health insurance that can help your wife or partner or boyfriend or husband or whoever, your children as well. And also basic accident insurance. So this would be a little bit different. And jobs that you're using your body, you know, if you're climbing around, cooking with hot oil, driving a vehicle as part of your job, and accidents are sort of part of the work. They do happen, even though they try to avoid them. But if there is an accident, you won't just be on your own. The company will help to pay for any medical bills and other things like that. So that sounds pretty good. Now, Annie seems happy with that answer. She says, how about the schedule? Now she wants to know about sort of the timetable for work, the schedule. When will I work? Can I change things? She asks that by saying, is it flexible? Will you give me the same times and the same days to work every week, or does it change? And if it doesn't work for me, can I switch a day? You know, if I'm doing something on Sunday one week, can I switch it with other people? If something is flexible, that means it can bend, it can move, it can change. It's not sort of fixed. It's not sort of stuck in some way. It's not a concrete. It's not rigid. It's flexible. It's something that can be adjusted or changed depending on the situation.
And the cafe manager says, we try to accommodate school or personal needs to the extent possible. So to accommodate just means to meet the wishes of somebody. Yeah, if you need to find a substitute because you need to take an exam at a certain time or something like that, we can try to help you as much as we can. That just means to the extent possible or as much as we can. Sometimes, of course, we can't change our schedules because other people are not available or whatever. And if an employee gets sick or has an emergency, we just ask that they let us know promptly. Promptly just means as soon as possible. So yeah, if you get sick, let us know as soon as you can. Or if you have an emergency, if your mother has an accident and you need to go to the hospital or something, that can happen pretty suddenly, but still you need to let them know as soon as you can.
And Anna says, thank you. I'm interested in applying for the job. So everything seems to fit what she wants or what she hopes for, and she's definitely interested in working at this coffee shop. So hopefully she gets a positive response on that. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We're going to go over to Hanny right now because she's got so much interesting stuff to tell us about.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。在课文第二部分的对话里， Anna 向咖啡馆经理询问班表是否有弹性。咖啡馆经理说 We try to accommodate school or personal needs to the extent possible. 这边我们首先介绍动词 try， 它是指尝试，后面可以接动名词或者是接不定词 to be， 不过这两者代表的意思会不同。首先来看 try 加动名词，这时候是表达尝试做某事，看看结果如何。那这是着重在过程、方法或者是在测试结果。假设朋友用讯息在联络某人一直联络不上，那也许你可以建议他 Try calling him on his phone. 试试看打手机给他，你尝试打看看他的手机号码，看看结果是怎么样。好，那么第二个，如果是用 try 加不定词 to be， 则是表达设法努力去做某事。那这是着重在意图、目标或者是困难度。例如 We've been trying to get in touch with him all day. 我们一整天都试着要跟他取得联系，设法要联络上这个人。好，那也顺便补充两个跟 try 有关的片语。第一个可以用 try one's hand at 加上名词或动名词，表达初次尝试做某事。hand 在这边固定要用单数型。例如 Amy wanted to try her hand at songwriting. Amy 想尝试写歌。第二个可以用到 try one's luck 来表达试试运气、碰运气。那这个片语的使用情境多半是知道某事可能不会成功，但仍然尝试去做。像是 Emma decided to try her luck in Hollywood. Emma 决定到好莱坞碰碰运气，看能不能闯出个名堂。好，另外文中它有用到动词 accommodate， 我们来补充它的字首字根。看到 MOD、MODE 这一类字根，它表示测量、衡量或方式。那在 accommodate 这个字当中， 字首 AC 是来自 AD 表示朝向， COM 表示彻底或是做强调用，那么字根 MOD 表示衡量，再来 ATE 是动词字尾。那同学们就可以试着联想，当你对着你的目标对象彻底衡量出精确的因应方式，也许可以联想到 accommodate， 它有适应、配合、满足或迎合的意思。那么旅馆在规划住房来迎合顾客需求时，或者是这个场地在规划容纳人数时，也必须经过精密的衡量。所以我们也可以联想到说 accommodate 还有容纳，为什么什么提供空间、住宿的意思。好，那以上是今天重点整理，我们回顾今天单字吧。
Prior. When we asked Ava about it, she said she had no prior knowledge of the meeting. Subsidy. Some of the farmers in this area receive government subsidies to help cover their production costs. Labor. Over the next few years, many industries will depend on skilled labor to grow. Flexible. Our plans for the weekend are flexible and can be changed pretty easily if necessary. Accommodate. The school's policies were revised recently to better accommodate the needs of students. Extent. The full extent of the damage is still unknown, but we will have a clearer picture of it soon. Promptly.
Brett was promptly removed from the game after he was found to have broken the rules.
Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, so please make sure you join us again next time. For all of us here, I am Mike.
I am Roger.
See you next time.